the Assembly of Sound Doctrine Chandler. I'm at work, as you can see, but since I got some free time, I'm going to hit them scripts. But I can't do the short videos like I normally do because this is going to be not too lengthy, but length enough. It will take all day for it to upload to my phone. So what I'm going to talk about today, I'm going to actually bring in together Jacob's trouble, the book of Revelation, the Song of Moses, Daniel's prophecy, and etc. You know, from the position that I hold, all of these things was fulfilled first century. So now I'm finna go and show you how to truly harmonize the text so we can find out when the old earth ended, the old way of doing things ended, and the new way of doing things began. So I'm going to show you through prophecy and prophecy only. I have the New Revised Standard Version. That's what I have on the truck with me. You can tell it's all beat up and bruised because this is what I be looking at often, but I don't have like the KJV or the Septuagint and stuff with me, so you got to bear with me. But you can follow along, okay? We're going to start in Deuteronomy 31. This is Deuteronomy 31. I'm going to start at verse number 17. It says, "My anger will be kindled against them in that day. I will forsake them and hide my face from them. They will become easy prey, and many terrible troubles will come upon them. In that day they will say, have not these troubles come upon us, because our God is not in our midst?" So you can see right there, the troubles is being introduced to the children of Israel. Verse 21, "And when many terrible troubles come upon them, this song will confront them as a witness, because it will not be lost from the mouths of their descendants." So you can see here that it is clearly stated that the Song of Moses would be with the troubles that Israel went through, right? Verse 29, "For I know that after my death you will surely act corruptibly, turning aside from the way that I have commanded you. In time to come, trouble will befall you, because you will do what is evil in the sight of the Lord, provoking him to anger through the works of your hand." Let me make sure. Okay, that is off. So you can clearly see the Song of Moses is what was introduced to bring the troubles to Israel. Once again, the Song of Moses brought the troubles to Israel. So now let's go to Jeremiah. Jeremiah 30, 4 through 6. It states, "These are the words that the Lord spoke concerning Israel and Judah. Thus says the Lord, we have heard a cry of panic, of terror, and no peace. Ask now and see, can a man bear a child? Why then do I see every man with his hands on his loins like a woman in labor? Why has every face turned pale? Alas, that day is so great, there is none like it." So you remember in Deuteronomy 31, we read about the troubles in that day. Now in Jeremiah 30, in that day, there is no day like it. It is a time of distress for Jacob, yet he shall be rescued. Sorry about that. Again, the phone call. Let's see if I can stop the phone call. Okay, sorry about that. Okay. It states that in that day, there's going to be none like it. It is a time of distress for Jacob, yet he shall be rescued from it. So it is a day of trouble, a day of distress, like none other day that has ever existed. Think about that in your mind. Think about that terminology. Now, we didn't already read in Deuteronomy 31 that day of trouble was dealing with the song of Moses. So now in Jeremiah's, when Jeremiah is talking about that same day, he said it's going to be a day of distress, none like it, right? So once you go to Daniel, who was reading Jeremiah, look what Daniel says about that same prophesied day that was going to be the end of all, that last day, the end of all stress. This is what Daniel stated. Daniel 12:1. At that time, Michael, the great prince, the protector of your people, shall arise. There shall be a time of anguish such as has never occurred since nations first came into existence. But at that time, your people shall be delivered, everyone who was found written in the book. Now, didn't Jeremiah say it's going to be a day of trouble like it has never been, but your people will be saved from it? Now, Daniel, who came after Jeremiah, is saying it's going to be a day of distress. It's going to be a day like it has never been, but your people will be delivered, everyone written in the book. So you can see as time progresses, the prophecy comes out more and more. So now we find out that the people that's being saved are the people written in the book of life. Those are the people being saved. Jeremiah didn't say that. He just said your people will be saved. So now Daniel hit it. He said only the people written in the book was going to be saved, right? So let's continue to go on. Yes, sir. Indeed. So let's continue to go on. Thank you, Brother Mike. So now, remember he said it's going to be a day of distress, right? So once we go to Luke 21, let's read 20 through 24. Now I'm about to cut my truck on. Hopefully it don't get too loud because I got to get a little air in here. All right, it says, when you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, then know that its desolation has come near. Then those in Judea must flee to the mountains, and those inside the city must leave it, and those out of the country must not enter it. For these are the days of vengeance, as a fulfillment of all that is written. Woe to those who are pregnant and to those who are nursing infants in those days. For there will be great distress on the earth and wrath against this people. And they will fall by the edge of the sword and be taken away as captive among all nations. And Jerusalem will be trampled on by the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles are fulfilled. So notice, when Christ spoke in the way Luke phrased it, it was going to be, Jerusalem was going to be trodden down by armies. And this is considered the day of vengeance, which we find out is in Deuteronomy 31, Deuteronomy 32. But these are the days of vengeance, right? And this was going to be fulfilled. This is going to be the fulfillment of all that was written. So you got your Daniel that was written, you got your Jeremiah that was written, you got your Deuteronomy that was written. But notice, he said that, what Daniel said was, everyone found written in the book was going to be saved from this day of trouble. What did Christ state? Verse 20, when you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, then know that its desolation has come near. Then those in Judea must flee into the mountains. So the people who listened to Christ and fled into the mountain, they were saved from the great distress day, the day of tribulation, that day of destruction. Those people were saved. Meanwhile, the other people was taken captive. The other people went into captivity. So don't you see how some was saved? The people written in the book of life, the people who put on Christ and listened to Christ, they were saved. Meanwhile, the others were destroyed. So, Deuteronomy said it was going to be a time of trouble. Jeremiah said it was going to be a day of trouble. Daniel said it was going to be a day of trouble. And then we got Luke 21, Christ speaking on that same day of trouble happening his generation. But let's show you another one. And don't forget about the great distress. Remember that distress that Daniel was talking about? Let's go to the other rendering. Let's go to Matthew 24 rendering, right? So you go to Matthew 24, let's read 15 through 21. When you see the desolating sacrilege standing in the holy place, as was spoken of by the prophet Daniel, let the reader understand. Then those in Judea must flee to the mountains. So we know this is Luke 21, what we just read. The one on the housetop must not go down to take what is in the house. The one in the field must not turn back to get a coat. Woe to those who are pregnant and to those who are nursing infant in those days. Pray your flight might not be in the winter or on the Sabbath day. For at that time there will be great suffering, such as has not been from the beginning of the world until now. No, and never will be. So don't you see that Christ stated the same thing about when Jerusalem was going to be destroyed by the Roman army? He said that there was going to be a day of distress that has never been. The same thing that Jacob said. It's going to be a day, the same day Jeremiah said about Jacob's trouble. It was going to be a day like none other. So the day like none other is the same day that Daniel was speaking of, a day of anguish like none other, the same day that Christ is speaking on, a day like none other, a tribulation like none other. They're all saying the same thing, but Christ put that prophecy within his generation. But let's go back to Deuteronomy 32. I'm almost done because I gotta start my work day back. I got a little bit more time, just a little bit. So Deuteronomy 32, let's look at 43 now. It says, praise, O heavens, his people, worship him, all you gods. For listen to what it said he's going to do. For he will avenge the blood of his children and take vengeance on his adversaries. And he will repay those who hate him and cleanse the land for his people. So what is he going to do? Avenge the blood of his children, take vengeance on his adversaries. Remember, Christ said this is a day of vengeance. So he's going to take vengeance on his adversaries and repay those who hate him and cleanse the land for his people. The cleansing of the land is the atonement. So now let me show you when the atonement was going to take place. So we see when the Deuteronomy 31, when Jacob's trouble was going to take place, which was Jerusalem being trodden down by the Roman army. So now let's see when the atonement was going to take place. You go to Matthew 23, 34 through 37. Therefore I send you prophets, sages, and scribes, some of them whom you will kill and crucify, and some you will flog in your synagogues and pursue from town to town, so that upon you may come all the righteous bloodshed on earth. From the blood of righteous Abel to the blood of Zechariah, son of Berechias, who you murdered between the sanctuary and the altar. Truly I tell you, all this will come upon this generation. Jerusalem, Jerusalem, the city that kills the prophets and stone those that are sent to it. How often have I desired to gather your children together as a hen gathers her brood under her wings, and you were not willing. See, your house is left to you desolate. So you see out of the words right there, what did he say? The blood shed on the earth, the blood of righteous Abel, the blood of Zechariah. You see this blood, this is atonement language. There's no atonement without blood. So this is atonement language. You remember Deuteronomy 32 says, I will cleanse your land. See, there's an atonement that had to happen for the land also. And there was an atonement that had to happen to the people. So Christ said, I'm going to avenge the blood of my servants. Here, you clearly have Christ saying his generation, the blood of his servants will be avenged. But let me show you something else that's interesting, right? Because people want to put Revelation in our timeline, right? So let me show you about how Revelation is actually being played out first century. So you go to Numbers. Go to Numbers 16. We're going to read 45 through 46, dealing with the atonement. My bad, y'all done got a little hot again. Number 16, 45 through 46. It says, get away from this congregation so that I may consume them in the moment. Let me make sure I got the right one. And they fell on their faces. Moses said to Aaron, listen to what Moses said to Aaron. Listen to what Moses said to Aaron. Moses said to Aaron, take your censer, put fire on it from the altar, and lay incense on it, and carry it quickly to the congregation, and make atonement for them. For wrath has gone out from the Lord, the plague has begun. So now, let's go to the book of Revelation. The book of Revelation, chapter 8. The book of Revelation, chapter 8, verse number 1 through 5. When the Lamb opened the seventh seal, we know the seventh, this is dealing with the new covenant, there was silence in heaven for about half an hour. And I saw the seven angels who stand before God, and seven trumpets were given to them. Another angel, listen to what this other angel was given. Another angel with a golden censer came and stood at the altar. He was given a great quantity of incense to offer with the prayers of all the saints on the golden altar that is before the throne. What happened in number 16, 46? Take your censer, put it on the fire from the altar, and lay incense on it. Now we have a great angel who's at the altar that have incense on it. So let's keep reading. Verse 4. And the smoke of the incense with the prayer of the saints rose before God from the hand of the angel. Then the angel took the censer and filled it with the fire from the altar and threw it on the earth. Why did he throw it on the earth? Number 16 in verse 46. Take your censer, put fire on it from the altar, and lay incense on it, and carry it quickly to the congregation. What was the congregation at? On earth. Where did the Revelation, in Revelation 8, where did the angel throw the fire from the altar at? On the earth. The congregation was on the earth. That's why he threw the fire on the earth. Just like in number 16, Aaron, who was the high priest, he had to take the fire and the incense to the congregation. So what's happening in Revelation 8? Atonement is giving. This is the atonement occurring in Revelation chapter 8. Now, the same atonement that Deuteronomy 32 said had to occur is happening in Revelation chapter 8. But let me show you the beautiful part of this. For the people who says that this is in our future, like atonement hasn't happened yet. You go to Daniel chapter 9 again. Let's get back to Daniel 9. Daniel 9 verse 24. It states, 70 weeks are decreed for your people and your holy city to finish the transgression, to put an end to sin, and to atone for the iniquity. To atone for the iniquity. To atone for the iniquity. What's happening in Revelation 8? The iniquity is being atoned for. What did Christ say in Luke 21? verse 22, for these are the days of vengeance as a fulfillment of all that is written. It was written in Deuteronomy 32 that the adversaries was going to be destroyed and the blood of the servants would be atoned for or repaid for. So the atonement was spoken of in Deuteronomy 32, dealing with the day of vengeance. And once again, the atonement dealing with the day of vengeance was spoken for in Deuteronomy 32. Christ stated that that Rome been surrounded, Rome surrounding Jerusalem is the fulfillment of all prophecies. Revelation 8 is that atonement. Revelation 8 shows us the atonement process. So by default, Revelation 8 had to occur in that same day of vengeance that the Roman army brought on about through the Father, through Christ, sending them out to avenge the blood of the servants. Thank y'all. Subscribe to